Hey everybody, I'm really excited about today's video because I can finally offer the variegated Rangpur Lime up for auction on our eBay store or under the auction section of our website, themulberries.org. This plant is just absolutely beautiful, and I feel extremely lucky to have been able to discover this and not only find it but also stabilize it to some degree, because variegation inherently is a type of chimerism, and it's one that isn't particularly stable. So branches of variegated plants can revert, and it can be tricky to get a young seedling to stabilize a variegation, especially since it does put the plant at a disadvantage. It doesn't want reduced chlorophyll when it's trying to grow, but we have been able to overcome that, and I wanted to show you all these plants together because you can see how far along they've come since we discovered putting them on the right rootstock really makes all the difference considering the growth stage it was at. So we have our original variegated Rangpur Lime that we discovered amongst tens of thousands of other citrus seedlings, and you can see while we have pruned it about twice to try and propagate it to some degree, it still hasn't grown very much, even with adequate sun, moisture, and fertilizer. However, the new mother plant that we have here, grafted on Sacaton citramello, another seedling but with much more vigorous root system and very robust growth, you can see this plant has just exploded. So even considering the variegation and the reduced nutrients it's getting, it's still done really, really well. So I'm very happy with that. It's a beautiful ornamental once it sizes up. And keep in mind, this plant is less than a year old in front of us here. So I grafted this sometime in the winter off of the original seedling in hopes to invigorate it and have some sort of reliable source for budwood in the future. Because I know, and I've gotten a lot of inquiries, a lot of people want to get their hands on this beautiful citrus, and I don't blame you. As far as I know, this is the only variegated Rangpur Lime. Now, the only downside is, even for these seedling trees that have been grafted onto Sacaton or even Swingle citramello, any type of vigorous rootstock will do these very well, but they are still years and years out from producing fruit, which would likely have a striking variegated pattern considering the level of variegation we're seeing on the plants themselves. But keep in mind, this is juvenile material, so it's primarily ornamental, and eventually it'll produce fruit, but I would expect it to take at least twice as long as a conventional citrus. So we could be looking at a decade before any of these are really at a fruiting age. You could apply some methods to speed that up, but really just appreciate these plants for how they look. That's really the whole point of variegated citrus. They're not really grown for fruit production. We know that. They're grown for their ornamental beauty. And I'm really happy to have already been able to share one specimen with a Virginia fruit grower who is a lover of variegated citrus and tropicals alike. So I'm trusting that he will be able to take care of this plant, and over time we can slowly get this out further where more of you can be able to grow this too. So we're starting off with just 3 specimen plants here, again all grafted on Sacaton citramello rootstock and doing very well. These are more recent grafts than the first one, as you can tell, so they're still a couple months old at least, and they were bark grafts that are healing really nicely now, as you can see here. Get some close-ups of those grafts healing. They're looking really good, and I had to implement some micro bark grafting because the scions I was working with are extremely small. They came off the original plant, so that is the type of caliper that we're dealing with here. Just those little offshoots is what I was trimming and grafting. So these have already come a long way, and they already have some striking variegation, but they will be sold separately. So I'm going to list these so you can see each individual plant that you're going to get, and you guys can feel free to bid on these if you are interested in them. Naturally, of course, all these proceeds go towards supporting our nursery and the farm and everything that we do, all of our breeding efforts, because, well, variegated citrus isn't the main thing that we do. It's a fun spin-off. It's fun that we're finding some of these here, but primarily we're interested in more edible, hardy citrus. So we're working really, really hard on that. It is time consuming and resource consuming, but regardless of what kind of support we get from the nursery, we will keep chugging along. But I gotta say, you guys have been great. I really appreciate everyone who has supported our nursery and everything we've had to offer, even our videos in terms of sharing them, liking them, engaging with them. Your guys' support has been really, really great. So I'm happy to say it feels like we have a pretty tight-knit community here. So that makes me really excited because some of you will be the first to find out about and have access to some of these really rare varieties that we're going to be putting out on the market. A lot of which I hope can compete with or do even better than what we currently have at our disposal. So this is just one of those small contributions, but it's one I hope a lot of you can be excited for because I sure am. I love this plant. I love just how fortunate we are to have been able to find and stabilize it. And I really hope to be able to do this again. You know, we do have that variegated Troy or citrange seedling that we found and grafted. And so far it has some of that variegated pattern, but to a much lesser degree than this one. And it hasn't been exactly stable. So we are in the process of stabilizing it, essentially just pruning back any unvariegated growth and forcing growth from the variegated portions until they are more consistent, which is exactly what we did with this plant. It reverted originally, we cut it back, it resprouted and stayed variegated. And then another point when we cut to propagate this new mother tree that is now, again, much bigger, it did revert a second time and we had to cut it back and let those lower shoots resprout. And then from there, it has been solely variegated, but we can't really rely on our original tree anymore. The root system is pretty sad on it. It just doesn't have enough energy to keep growing. But this new mother tree is absolutely beautiful and, well, more vigorous. I won't call it vigorous in general because it is a slow grower, but on these roots, they do a lot better. And that increased vigor, those increased resources from the roots allow it to produce more leaves and generally more green leaves, which kind of keep that cycle going, keep these growing and producing those pretty, very pretty leaves in between. But let me not rant too much about this one, guys. I'm just really excited. I love this plant. I hope you guys get to enjoy it too. Again, we have 3 plants that will be up for auction. You will see one of these. I'm not sure at the moment which one we'll put up first, but believe me, the other 2 will follow soon. So we'll probably do this over a 2 or 3 week period, depending on how I want to stagger the lengths of these auctions. But you'll have a chance at each of these. So if you are interested, check out the links in our description, as we always have links to our website and anything else related to the video if we do mention it. But thank you guys for always tuning in. I hope you enjoy and happy bidding. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.